Good morning, fellow Plexers. Recently, in one of the Facebook Plex support groups, I came across a question that I haven't gone back to look at that asks how to enable hardware acceleration in a Plex Docker container for Nvidia graphic cards. So, I've got Portainer up, and this is how I built the container under Ubuntu 24.04. Let me bring in a text document that shows everything start to finish. So in the environment section, these two lines are what's needed in the container. But before you can do that, you need to visit the Linux server page for this Docker container, which will tell you that you need to install the Nvidia Container Toolkit, which is very easy to do. So you click on that link, and it takes you here, and you click on this link, Documentation Repository, and it takes you here. And you've got all the instructions you need. So for Ubuntu or Debian, you can just do this. You copy this, open up terminal. I'm going to copy it. Open up terminal, right click, paste, hit enter, type your password, answer yes with a Y and enter, and you're done. So then you drop down and just copy number 2, right click, copy, paste that in, hit enter, then you install the Nvidia Container Toolkit package, copy this, so obviously I've already got that installed. And then we can skip the Fedora instructions and the OpenSUSE. And then we have to enable it for containers by copying this. Right click and paste it in, hit enter. And then the last thing to do is to restart the Docker subsystem. So we'll copy that instruction, paste it in. Okay, that's really it, besides adding the lines to Portainer of where you configured your Plex container. Let me sign back into Portainer. Click the whale, go to stacks. Well, if your container is already running, let's do it this way. Go to container, stop the container, go to your stacks, click into it, click editor, and then add these 2 lines. I'll post this in the description of the YouTube page. This is how I've got my container set up. You'll see that it's pointing to the configuration files inside of this Docker folder under Home. This line, this path tells the container where my Plex media is, and this path sets up RAM transcoding. I'll post my whole configuration. So once you're done, you update the stack, repull the image and redeploy, hit update, and you have to stay on this page until you see success. Now I can go to the container tab. You can see Plex is starting. It'll be running soon enough. And let's say we've got the web app up. It opened on the wrong page, on the wrong monitor. So we see that container is running along with my other test servers. And if I go down to transcoder and drop down, the Nvidia option is there. You see my 3060 card. Save the changes. And let me turn everything on. Use hardware accelerated video encoding. Save changes. Enable the experimental HEVC transcoding. Save changes. And then this should be checked also. If it's not, check it and save changes. So let's do this. Let's go into the dashboard for this server. And I've got the HTPC client app with the sound off on another screen. Let me start up the Magnificent 7 from 1960. It's my highest bit-rated RIP on my server. I use it for testing transcoding. You'll see it's 104 megabits per second as it's playing directly. Let me force that into a transcode. I'll take it down to 4 megabits per second at 720p. Our CPU did bump up just a little bit, but then it dropped down. And you'll see we've got the HW for the transcode. Of course, the audio is always a software transcode. Pretty easy peasy, simply by following the directions. Let's change this a little bit. I'll show you just part of the screen. We don't want any YouTube strikes. Let me take it back into original quality. Very quick. This is a 12 gigabyte Asus 3060 Nvidia GeForce card in my 12th Gen i9 system running right now Ubuntu 24.04. So let's put it into a 12 megabit per second 4K transcode. It's taken longer to start up than the 720p, but start up it did. So now we're transcoding down to 10 megabits per second. And we're still staying in the HEVC container because we enabled those options in the settings. Let's change the transcode to 720p, 4 megabits per second. All right, we're at 4 megabits per second, and we're still in that HEVC transcode container, HEVC to HEVC at the lower resolution. Let's put it back into a direct stream. Now let me stop the stream. Let's go do a little experimental comparison here. Let's go back to transcoder. Let's disable the HEVC optimization and let's disable the HEVC encoding. Save the changes. We'll go back to the container dashboard. Let's start this stream up again. Okay, so now let's put it into that same 12 megabit per second 4K transcode. I wanted to see if the experimental features was any quicker or slower than the default features, and I think the video started up just a hair quicker without the features. Let's drop it into the 720p.
You have a new flash mail.
So that's definitely quicker. Let's do this one more time. Let's go back into the settings. Save that change, enable that. Let's go back to dashboard if I click the right area. Let's enable the movie again. Okay, so I had started it back up into transcoded state, so I just moved it to a direct stream. Let's go to that 4K 12 megabit per second level again. That was about the same time. I'm not running a stopwatch on this. And let's shift to the 4 megabit per second 720p like I had done previously. I think this is the transition that felt longer to me. Okay, so let's do one more comparison. Let me pause the video. I'm going to switch to the same test on my regular server, which is using the Intel iGPU and a 14th gen Meteor Lake i5 processor running unraid, pointing to media on my Synology NAS. This container under Ubuntu has local media on this system. So let me pause the video and I'll get back to you. Okay, so I'm back. I am into the transcoder section for this normal server of mine. And if we drop down, we see we've got all the features enabled. And this is the Intel ARC graphics iGPU from that 14th gen Intel processor. So let's go to dashboard for my normal server. And we'll start up the Magnificent 7 on that. Okay, so that's already starting in a transcoded state, and you see how fast that started up. So let me put it into original quality. Now that change was almost instant. And I keep hitting the wrong arrow key. So let's put this into that same 12 megabit per second 4K state. Pressing enter right now. You see how much quicker that was on this Intel iGPU than it was under the powerful Nvidia graphics card. So now let's take it down to the 720p 4 megabits per second, hitting enter right now. Again, instantaneous. So the video is really about showing how to get hardware accelerated transcoding with a Nvidia graphics card under Ubuntu or a Docker container, Linux container. But the real message of this video is you might want to upgrade your motherboard to run a more modern Intel processor with the phenomenal iGPU if performance is your desire. Anybody can slap in a video card, but you might spend more money on that or too much money on that versus upgrading your motherboard, RAM, and processor. The biggest bang for the buck is always the Intel iGPU, but I've only tested with my one expensive video card. Thanks for watching and happy Plexing.